Founder FM. You're listening to Founder FM with your host, Graham Brown.
Hello and welcome to Founder FM. My name is Graham Brown. Today we're heading to Huntington Beach, California to meet Vipe Desai, entrepreneur, philanthropist, and founder of HDX. Vipe, welcome to the show.
Hi, Graham. Great to be here with you.
Vipe, so today we're going to talk about your journey as an entrepreneur and what you've been doing in terms of building your business interests as well as serving on other companies' boards, mentoring young entrepreneurs. Do you consider yourself an entrepreneur from a very young age?
No, not really. When I graduated from college, the pressures from society and institutions was get out and get a job. And that's what, everybody in that time period was experiencing. It's like, I graduated, I got to go get a job. And that's what I was thinking about. But nobody was hiring at the time. We were kind of starting to enter into a recession, and the Iraq War was about to kick off. So it was really a bad time to find a job. And I stumbled upon an opportunity to buy a surf shop and start my entrepreneurial journey. I didn't have any desire to be an entrepreneur, but it kind of presented itself, and it just accidentally started rolling uphill from there, up or downhill, whichever way you look at it. But it started rolling.
So it's the early 90s. You were a surfer, though, originally, right? Or you still are?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been surfing since I was 14 years old. I would say surfing has pretty much guided me on my path. If it doesn't involve surfing, I'm probably not too interested in it. But
right. Well, there's an interesting thing about following your passion. Your story, in a way, it kind of reminds me when I think about entrepreneurs like Wing Lam, who runs Wahoo's Tacos, right? The reason he started the tacos business was so he could surf, right? Or be near the beach. So in a way, it seems like there's a lot of entrepreneurs in that community, isn't there? There seems to be a lot of people that have come out of the surf scene and built their own businesses because they loved what they did. And, that's really what they wanted to do through and through. And the business sort of came secondary to that.
yeah, I would say it was a little immature and selfish thinking that did that. We just wanted to surf. And if there was something like a job or a business we could create that would allow us the freedom to go and surf whenever we wanted, then, hey, check that box off the list. Perfect. And it's what happened to me. I loved surfing, and, I was like, well, wow, now during the day I get to, be surrounded by surfboards and wetsuits and clothing, and I'm smelling surf wax, and I get to go surf whenever I want. So this is like the best of both worlds. Yeah. I'm in. And a lot of guys in our industry did that. And eventually it turned into a job and a career, and we had to get serious about our businesses, but it still allowed us to be passionate about what we were doing. We just had to be a little bit more responsible for it because there were other people that were involved in this movement. We had employees, we had other people we were working with.
But where was your shop? Where was your shop based?
The store was here in a little town called Sunset Beach. It's just north of Huntington Beach, really small sliver of a town.
Is it still there, the store?
No, the store is not there. The property was bulldozed, and they built some sort of 3-story building that was like part loft, part office space.
You ran the store for how long?
8 years. I had the store for 8 years.
Right. Okay. And you mentioned earlier that there's a point at which it got more serious, right? Is that the point at which you realized, okay, right now I'm an entrepreneur? Right, I was doing this because I love surfing and hanging out with surfers and so on, and now this business part comes into it. Or was it still sort of play for you? How did you feel about it?
It was a little bit of everything. I was learning about the industry as a whole and how it works, and that was really something that I think I stumbled upon, and I just paid attention to, not knowing what the outcome was going to be, but I kind of started getting a little nerdy about the industry as a whole. I really started thinking big picture. I looked at what was influencing our industry, from media to athletes to events to brands to what was going on in the marketplace. And it was great learning that. It was great working with brands that were growing and seeing what they were doing to build their businesses. So I was kind of observing very closely and studying what was going on at the whole industry, and not realizing that I was being entrepreneurial. And I was just like, oh, I got a job, I work, I run a surf shop, and I get paid. But I think what led me to leave the store and get rid of it was that I started to realize that coming down the pipeline, there were going to be challenges for a retail store like mine. The industry was growing, and if I didn't grow with it, then I would be left behind, and it would be more difficult for me. And for me to grow, I would need to open up more stores, and I didn't want to open up more stores. And I saw that's where things were going. So I kind of saw that, if I didn't get out at the right time, I might, not be in a good position later on down the line. And sure enough, a lot of those challenges did come true, and really damaged the retail environment. But I had gotten out, and I also wanted to explore the bigger picture. I saw that action sports were growing in interest with brands and companies, and even globally, because the X Games were just really amplifying the sports. So for me, I wanted to kind of leave the constraints of my small surf shop with 4 walls and a roof in my little sliver of a town of Sunset Beach and go, look, I want to get involved with stuff that was a little bit bigger. And starting the agency with a friend of mine allowed me that opportunity to really think bigger.
So if we look at the next step, you started this agency, which is a marketing agency, and you were in the right place at the right time. You had the connections in the action sports industry already through surf. And everybody knows everybody, right, in that industry. So word of mouth travels fast. There's this growing corporate interest in action sports. We're starting to see a lot of brands coming to action sports. A lot of non-associated brands, like even auto brands, looking at action sports for the first time. And a lot of very well-supported brands growing up in the industry who, maybe at the time that you started out, you started out at the same time with these guys, right? They were just young guys doing their thing. And now these billion-dollar brands were emerging. So there was a lot of movement. And you were running this agency. How did that feel to be in that scene? Now you sort of weren't at the coalface, serving surf customers every day and hanging out, talking about today's surf and so on. How did that change for you?
Yeah, it gave me a different perspective on life and my professional career and everything, as well, of what I wanted to do and what I felt I could contribute to the healthy growth of the industry. While the action sports industry was growing at that time, the problem that I saw and continued to hear from the media in our industry, to the guys that were producing events in our industry, to even the brands that were involved, just like, our industry was saying, all these corporate companies outside of our world, the non-endemic world, were exploiting our lifestyle for their personal gain, and they were doing it all wrong. Showing kooky skateboarding things, right. Showing, guys carrying their surfboards the wrong way, just all these different things, because it was like cool to look and be extreme with your advertising. And you had extreme burgers and extreme duct tape and extreme this and extreme that. And it was almost as if our industry and our culture was being exploited and hijacked by these people that, didn't understand what they were doing. So the purpose of the industry was for the agency was really to reach out to these non-endemic groups and say, we want you guys to do it right, and we want to help you do it right. We want you to be authentic, and when you're authentic, it helps our industry to grow and prosper, and you honor our industry when you do it right. And when you do that, we will reward you with customers, but you have to do it right, because if you have a if you have a guy carrying a surfboard in your car commercial and he's carrying it wrong, our industry is not inclined to want to
Right.
purchase, support you, or talk about you, besides calling you out as kooks.
Right.
And that's where, it was an interesting thing when Red Bull approached us to help them connect with the U.S. audience, and we presented them with a plan of how to authentically connect with this audience in the action sports industry. We launched them at the 1998 X Games in San Diego, Summer X Games, and we positioned them very authentically, credibly, and it worked when we knew it would, because Pepsi and Coke and Gatorade and Mountain Dew had come in looking to exploit our culture, and we told Red Bull, don't do it like these guys. Let us show you how to do it. They allowed us to do what we do best, and the rest is history.
Right. And that's a very interesting story. So Red Bull, obviously the rest is history, as you say. They became what they became on the back of being accepted within the industry, right? But they're quite a different beast entirely to a lot of those brands that you mentioned, right? They have a different kind of culture. They grew up in the scene as well, and grew up with a kind of frontline understanding of what people wanted. They weren't the big corporate beast that a lot of these companies were. And here's the thing, you're an entrepreneur, Vibe, so you're dealing with these big companies all the time. And, you worked in a surf shop where every day you would talk to surfers, and there were people just like you, and there was no BS in the conversation. It was just real, right? There's no...
Yeah.
And then you're sort of talking to these big corporates as clients. We've been there. That's not a straightforward process. And I'm saying this because there must be entrepreneurs who have clients who, they're dealing with big companies. These are not entrepreneurs that they're dealing with. How was that for you? Did you feel the frustration? Did you actively seek out these kind of clients, or were you, keeping them at a distance and saying, hey, look, until you kind of understand at our level, we can't do business together?
For me, it was a challenge, but I was really excited to take on that challenge, because for me, it's like, I wanted these large clients to win. I wanted them to succeed. So for me, it wasn't necessarily holding them off at a distance, until they got it. The idea was to meet with them and say, you're doing this wrong, and if you work with us, we'd love to show you how to do it right. And if you do it right, it will resonate across all your marketing, not just our little niche. So it was a lot of talking. It was a lot of pitching. It was a lot of, showcasing ideas and everything. So for a number of years, it was hard, but I loved it. It's like, if we could just change one company, we were happy. If we could change two, we'd be happy. If we could get people to see what we were doing and learn from it, we'd be happy. So it was a challenge, but it was something that we weren't going to get bummed out on if it didn't happen. We wanted to help these non-endemic companies succeed. We wanted them in the industry. We wanted their money for advertising and sponsorship of events, and we wanted them to walk away feeling good to come back next year.
Awesome. Well, that was a win-win. Let's fast forward the story to your current challenge, HDX. So you started that 5 years ago. First of all, tell us a bit about what HDX is and also why you started it.
Yeah, so HDX is a hydration mix. It's a powder that you add to water, and the ingredients are electrolytes and vitamins, amino acids and minerals, all the healthy things. But we also wanted to take a step back and extract the high sugar content that's found in beverages, eliminate the carbs, the calories, and get rid of the caffeine and all that stuff. So I sensed that there was this trend of people wanting healthier products. But what was that? I don't think people quite grasped what they wanted. They knew they wanted something healthier, but they didn't. And I kind of looked at it to my own personal journey, and I started to get involved with nonprofits. And I started to learn about the environmental impacts of plastic waste and how, beverages contribute to that, but also the diabetes and obesity issues because of sugary drinks. And it's like, man, it's like, this is a growing problem. And if our product, if we're going to make a product, it should not only be good for people, but it should be good for the planet. And, it was our challenge, like, how do we create something that's good and fun and something that works? So that was the inspiration behind it, to, provide a good product, but also tackle some issues that we face in society.
So when you started this business, you went to friends and families to raise money, and you raised $285,000. How was that as a process? Is that something you'd done before? Was it something that you found quite comfortable doing?
It was the first time I had done any fundraising. When I did my surf shop, I had asked some family members to loan me some money, and I sold whatever I could. So that was one thing, but it wasn't to the degree that HDX was. The agency, I had already had money because of my surf shop, so I was easily able to start it. I didn't need anybody else's funding. But with HDX, I knew that I would need funding. And I have to say that I think it's because of my history of the retail store and everybody that I met and the trust that I had built with all these guys over the course of my retail and my agency life, that when I created this plan, I took it out to some family and friends, and I just said, here's the next stage of my life. Here's what I want to do. Here's my plan. I'd love for you to join me on this journey if you're inclined. And, I was really surprised and humbled and just honored that all these guys were like, I'm in. Just tell me what you want. I mean, it's like, it wasn't the hard angel VC sell. These people were like my friends. They'd seen my work. They'd seen my successes in helping other people build their brands. And they said, now it's your turn. And, the people that stepped up were just amazing. And some people had called me up going, hey, I heard you talk to so-and-so, and, you got something new you're starting, and I hope you're going to let me get in on it because I want to help you, and, I want to see you succeed. So it wasn't the typical fundraising experience that I think other entrepreneurs go through. And it was a learning experience, but man, it's like, I would say that took me, almost 15 to 20 years to get to that point. The trust that I had built up with people, with family and friends and guys in the industry that were like, yeah, we trust you. Go.
It's so important, isn't it? The reputation that you have, the trust that you build. I think we, as young entrepreneurs, we don't really value it a lot. Maybe because we don't have a history, but the older that you become, the more you realize that that is really your only thing that you have as an entrepreneur at the end of the day, isn't it? Is your reputation and the trust and the relationships that you have. And of course, these are extremely valuable and so easily destroyed if you cut corners or, you don't respect the relationships. But that's obviously what helped you get a start in your business.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm so grateful that, I never screwed up or screwed anybody over. And I mean, obviously everybody should operate that way. And sometimes accidents do happen, and, it's like, they're unfortunate, but I was very lucky that, that never happened. And in all honesty, look, when I was, building my career through the surf shop and through the agency, I wasn't thinking that at some point, it's like down the line when I start my business, it's like, I better be good with these guys because I might ask them for money. I wasn't thinking, my only purpose was to honor my industry. In all honesty, it was just like, man, it's like, I want to be somebody that, respects, the industry and everybody that's poured in blood, sweat, and tears to make it what it was. And that it had helped me so much that it's like, why would I want to, be off sides with any of the people who had built the industry and that I was a part of? So it was just kind of like a natural thing. But yeah, I think the trust and being a part of that industry and that collective of people and working with them and becoming friends with him, I think it was really a pivotal point for HDX. I mean, that's literally what helped it, because I don't know what we would have done out of that. I mean, I definitely would have had to put all my own money in, but the fact that these guys stepped up, I mean, was tremendous.
And a real confidence boost as well. So what was it like the day one that you were starting out? You'd been a successful surf store owner, you had run an agency, you're now starting your product. You had a physical product, or maybe you haven't even made it yet, but you had an idea and a strategy and you had some funds, but no customers yet. You don't have a storefront where you can talk to people. What was going through your mind at the time?
Man, it was everything. Every scenario was racing in my mind when we flipped the switch to go. Will people like our product? Will people like our brand? Are we doing it right? What are we missing? Every question that has ever been under the sun comes into your mind at an alarming velocity. It's nervousness, it's excitement and everything. Because look, it's like it's going to school, like your first day at high school. It's like, will these kids like me? I hope they like me. Yeah. It's your baby. It's like, man, it's like, oh, don't screw up on the first day, because then you'll be that kid that slipped on the bathroom floor or something.
Yeah, exactly.
So it was important to learn and listen. And I'll tell you, I think the biggest lesson that I learned was that even though I had past successes and I'd had great people in my corner that were extremely successful, and I think I'd teed up everything, I couldn't operate in an arrogant manner. I had to really, kind of like have this out of body experience of like, this is your first time, stay humble, listen more, talk less, all these different things that I had to kind of discipline myself on, because, it was like, hey, look, it's not what I tell people about HDX, it's what they tell me. That I had to be aware of. And I really had to work hard at that, because, it's like there's a little bit of confidence that you have and a little bit of seniority feeling that you have. Then, it's like kind of like, I've been successful. People should, buy my product because I'm entitled to it, and it's like, you can't be that way, You have to really step back and go, I'm building a relationship with new customers, people that don't know me, and I have to respect them and their opinion and whatever they might think. And if I screw up, I can't take it personally. I better, own up to it. And, I think that was a really, important thing for me to learn and practice. And look, I'll tell you, I think, this would be hard for me to have said years ago, but it's like, I think we botched our launch, In
what way?
Well, I thought a certain segment of people, I thought the action sports industry was ready for our product. So I was all ready to go, all in on the action sports industry. And I quickly learned that, man, I was way off. The action sports industry was not ready for my product, nor were they interested in my product or the values or anything. As a whole, the general consumer side, I think there was a small niche of people who were like, oh, cool, good values, eco-friendly, health and all that stuff. But, people wanted something else. They wanted the aggro, excitement, flashy fireworks of the energy drinks. And I was not that. I was too wholesome, and they didn't want that. So I botched the launch, and I quickly had to kind of like go back and kind of like go, oh my God, what have I done and what am I going to do? And, while I was going through that process, I was attracting people that were using my product that were in the endurance sports world, like cycling and running and triathlons and all these other outdoor sports that I had no experience in the industry, retail, none of that stuff. And people are like, hey, your product's really good. It's like, I love it. And it's like, oh, cool. What do you do? Oh, I run.
Right.
I don't even
Huh.
target you. So I literally had to try and, fix the company to redirect its effort and its messaging and learn the endurance sports world at the same time and the fitness world and everything. So, it's like, yeah, it was really stressful there for a couple years, for I'd say 3 years of like, the botched launch, having to go through that pain and then having to learn about an entirely new culture and industry and segment and everything at the same time. So I had to immerse myself in learning about this culture. And then, at the same time, as I got my head around that, things were starting to shift where we were starting to have challenges with our traditional retail model where we would sell product to retailers. That was becoming challenging, and I needed to switch to e-commerce. So, there was definitely some hurdles that I had to go through. And last year, we decided, or a year and a half ago, we decided we need to prepare ourselves to go direct to consumer and be an e-com brand, focus on e-com. And that's what we had to do. So I had to learn all about e-commerce and all the, technologies and opportunities behind it. So last 5 years have been very tumultuous in learning and growing and where I'm going to take HDX.
So let's review that. You started out with this idea of launching a product to the action sports, perhaps the surf market. And probably in a sense, you were influenced a lot by a lot of the brands you worked with, launching the CPG, FMCG goods to
Yeah.
surfers and so on. And you had this idea of this is how the launch was going to be. You launched it to this market. You got some feedback. You decided you needed to change things. Then you started getting feedback from these other markets, these other users, which you hadn't really
Yep.
thought about. And that sort of didn't fit into what you're thinking was your sort of image of what this brand or what this product was about, but it was sort of shaping it now. And then you were thinking, right, well, actually, e-commerce maybe is a channel which we can reach these customers, right, in ways which you could never do before. So you were constantly changing your strategy on the way. Well, how is it that you distribute and sell this product now? What is the formula that works for you?
Yeah, the thing that I had to keep in mind over those 5 years is that, we had to be prepared to pivot. And I think that's one thing that sometimes entrepreneurs and businesses get too locked into and not being flexible with market conditions. And, trying to throw out some corporate speak there, but you have to pivot. If the market changes, you have to be able to pivot with it and go in the direction where it's going. But, now we are primarily a pure play e-commerce brand where we have built our website to service people entirely through our website. If you're a retailer and you want to carry our product, guess what? No rep is showing up at your store asking you to carry our product. You go through our website, you fill out a dealer form. If we like what we see, we give you access to our wholesale page where you can buy products, and there's a set way to purchase our product. You make your purchase, you pay with your credit card, we ship it out. If it sells and you want to reorder, go back to the website, place your order, we'll ship it out. If it doesn't sell and you don't want to carry it, thanks, we're not calling you back.
Right.
And it sounds cut and dry, and I don't want it to sound harsh, but for us, I need to focus on selling the product to consumers. And if consumers can find their way to your store and buy the product, great. If they come to us and buy the product, that's what I need to do. I need people coming to the website regularly to purchase our product. And then once that happened, we had to start looking at how do we optimize sales and product offerings. What do our customers want? So it really made me talk to our customers a lot more, connect with them, and I was driven by them.
But how did you do that? How did you actually talk to the customers when you're running an e-commerce website?
Yeah, so a couple different things. One is, you know, the simplest thing was people would provide us with feedback, and we always made it to where it's like when they placed an order, they always got an email that said, "Thank you for your purchase. If you have any email, or if you have any feedback, comment, good or bad for us, I would love to hear it. Here's my email address." And I gave them my email address, my
Right.
personal email address. So I wanted to create an open connection. You can either email me or here's my cell phone number. Feel free to call me
Right.
anytime. It's like I am available and I will pick up. And if I don't pick up and it goes to voicemail, I will call you back. It's not a customer service person. It's not a rep. It's not anybody else. I will personally answer back to you. So I wanted that connection that it's like you're talking to the person who makes the decisions and that cares about your experience, allowing them to provide us with testimonials. But the biggest thing that I did was with e-commerce is that, look, with e-com, it's like you get all the information on your phone now. So when orders came in on my phone, I would see the orders that would come in, but all the customers' data would be on my phone too, their phone number, their address, everything. So what I would do is if I'm driving into the office in the morning, I'd scroll through and I'd call somebody and I'd be like, "Good morning, my name is Vipe. I'm with HDX. You ordered some product from us. I just wanted to check in to see, what you think. If you have any feedback, comments, how's it going, And I'd have a conversation. So I would do that every day on my way into the office, lunch break, on my way home, whatever it was. If I had a little bit of time to kill, there's always somebody to call.
And how do
And
people react to that? Were they surprised? Did people react positively?
oh, they all reacted positively. A couple people at first were just like, why are you calling me?
Right.
It's like, are you it's like they thought I was a solicitor. And I was like, no, no,
Right.
no. I go, hey, you ordered product from us. And I just wanted to say thank
Right.
you. And I just wanted to hear what you think. Is there anything we can do better? Can you tell me what we're doing right? What do you like about our product? By the way, what are you into? How do you use it? And I really tried to keep it conversational.
Right.
And, I wanted to make them feel comfortable with that experience. And really, I wanted to portray appreciation that they went out of their way to purchase $30 to $60 worth of my product from a website without even trying it first.
Right.
So it's like I kind of felt as if I owed it to them to call them and go, thank you.
And probably beyond the thank you, the conversation, when it goes sort of beyond the talk about the order and so on, and it opens up and you get into a bit more personal conversation, people talk about what they like and so on. That's probably really insightful for you as well, isn't it? You start to get kind of insights which you wouldn't get on a form.
Absolutely. You're able to have a conversation with people. You're able to learn what attracted them to your product, what they like about it, what they might not like about it. And you kind of get an idea of like, what we should and shouldn't do to turn them off to our product. So it was like, it gave me parameters of like, here's how I need to operate. And really it really moved me in a different position. And the position that I consider myself to be in now is that there's two things that are in front of me. On one side are the customers, and on the other side are my products. Okay, and for me, I just have to play ref to make sure that everybody
Right.
plays nice.
You're in the middle.
I'm in the middle. It's like I'm not here to order anybody around, boss anybody around, or anything. My whole thing is that my customers and my products play nice, and if they play nice, that's good.
Well, we could probably talk forever, but we're running out of time here, Vite. And I want to make sure that we share with the listeners your secret weapon. Because this is something which you've discovered in the 5 years of running HDX, which has really changed how you do your business, isn't it? So let's give that some thought for the last few minutes.
Yeah. Look, I was very fortunate to discover Philanthropy in the early 2000s. And prior to that, when a nonprofit approached me, I would roll my eyes and I would just be like, oh, these guys are asking me for money. It's like, why don't they get a job? And it's like, I just had that really stupid mentality. And it was later that I realized that it's like, wow, these people are working hard to make society better. I can't ignore this. These people are doing rad stuff, and how can I support them and get involved and do whatever I can, what little I could. So I got involved with a few nonprofits, and I'll tell you, the most important thing that I've done for my personal and professional career is to get appointed to a nonprofit board. Serving on a nonprofit board, you learn so much. You're sitting around a table with other board members and staff that work at the nonprofit, tackling issues of climate change and pollution. And, you have this shared passion of fixing things. And you learn so much. You're sharing ideas. You're discussing things with people. And I learned so much working with nonprofits and serving on their boards that I would say that is the single most important thing that I've ever done for my entrepreneurial and personal, journey.
It's something which entrepreneurs can easily overlook for the reasons that you said, isn't it? And as well, we're busy people.
Yeah.
People probably think, well, why should I give up a few hours of my time for these guys? They can work it out. The other guys can sort it out. They'll get by.
Yeah, and I think it's like you have to find a reason to want to get involved that's serious and personal and not opportunistic. I did it because I had a passion for the work that these groups were doing, so it was easy. It was more of just like, what can I do? And I learned I could do more. I learned that my skills and the experiences that I had from marketing and brand building and the network that I had built could be of service. So when I walked into a nonprofit on their board, it was just like, here's my Rolodex, here's my experience, and here's all the resources that I have available. Please use them.
Right.
What can I do? And that felt liberating. It gave me a creative outlet, and it just really created excitement. And look, it doesn't matter what people do. If you write a check, you go do a beach cleanup, you serve on a board, you're on a committee, you help promote an event, a fundraising event, doesn't matter. I don't look at anything being better or more important than the other. I think being involved is the first thing. But for me, as an entrepreneur, I looked at it and went, okay, HDX is still small. I can't siphon a small percentage of sales off to a nonprofit. It's like, we're just not at that stage. But what I can do is serve on nonprofits to help them achieve success in their mission and promote the values of what my brand is all about and what I want them to be. So, I look at it as like I'm HDX is, offering me as a kind of sacrifice to these nonprofits. We can't write you a check, but we'll give you Vipe.
Right, but that's far more valuable in terms of contacts and experience and so on. And do you think that it's ultimately benefited your business?
I would say it has benefited my business because a couple of different things. One is that it has allowed me to, stay focused on my purpose and hold true to my values. It's like, this was a company that was built to provide good, healthy products and products that were good for the planet. So working with these nonprofit groups keeps me in check. If I do something bad, I'm going against the nonprofits that I'm working to help. So, it keeps me in check. But also it's allowed me to meet new people in many different walks of life and purposes and everything that I wouldn't have been able to if I was just on a board or if I was at another company or if HDX didn't have me doing this nonprofit work. So absolutely. I mean, the people that I've met and been able to introduce HDX to because of my nonprofit journey on boards, it's ridiculous, the people that I've met. I mean, I don't want to name drop, but it's like there's some heavy duty people that I've met and never thought I'd be in the room with.
And that comes full circle on the earlier conversation about networks and reputation, because I think a strong thread in the conversation that we've had today is how important your personal network is, right? Because that's what you bring to the table, isn't it? You know, and doing this kind of non-profit work just only makes that grow and expands it. So it's of real value for any entrepreneur. I know we're busy people, but we can always find an hour or 2 hours or, you know, some kind of support to get out there and do something, right? And there's a real, you know, if you're thinking of it in terms of, you know, what will I get back? Well, maybe it's not the right approach straight off, but in the long run, as an entrepreneur, you'll grow, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think sometimes as entrepreneurs, we get tunnel vision. We think about just what's good for our brand. And it's like, oh, I got to do this to get more sales. I got to keep doing this. You know, there's always more work to be done for any entrepreneur's business. But to be able to siphon a little bit of time and set it aside for personal growth and to help others, you know, I found to be an outlet for me. I mean, I would probably say it's been a better outlet for me than just going out and surfing. You know, it's been a great outlet. It's provided me with creativity, and like, you know, I'm able to do things that I wouldn't be able to do with HDX because it's so small. But I think sometimes people just get too tunnel vision. They go, oh, I got to keep working on my business. It's my business and I got to do this. And it's like, no, when you go do stuff over here, you're going to open up to more customers and more learning. And that's going to make you better when you do focus on your entrepreneurial endeavor.
For sure. That's Vipe Desai, everybody. Entrepreneur, philanthropist, and founder of HDX. Where do we find out more about you, Vipe?
Best place to go is hdxmix.com. That's where I call home.
Fantastic. It's a place we should visit. And I know you have so much to give, and you're always helping young entrepreneurs starting out. So I'm sure, you know, you'll be open to them reaching out to you if they listen to your story. Something might connect with them. You'll be happy to receive an email.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Love hearing the journeys of other entrepreneurs and helping them however I can. It's we're all in the same boat, you know, as entrepreneurs. Doesn't matter what size we are or how long we've been at it. You know, the struggle is the same and the passion is the same.
Fantastic. Well, it's been an inspiration listening to your struggle and your story today, Vipe. Thanks for sharing it with us.
Yeah, thanks, Graham, for having me and allowing me to share.
Founder FM, voice of the entrepreneur. Find out more at www.founderfm.com.